this meeting, and one of the first things I did, I looked up what actually information technology means, because I wasn't quite sure about it. And when you look it up, it means basically everything that has to do with software applications and computer hardware. And if you take an even broader view, then you can think of information communication technology. And this basically looks at everything that is dealing with the manipulation and communication of information. So in my presentation, I'm going to take this very broad view of information technology. We heard that information technology and the technological changes that have taken place in our societies have had a profound impact on our physical activity, as we heard, probably mostly on the light intensity physical activity and less on what we would think now is most important for health, a vigorous and moderate intensity physical activity. And as you can see here from this cartoon in the local newspaper, you can see that the changes have gone as far as to the remote control, so you don't even have to get up to switch the channel anymore in your television set. I'm not going to be talking about this though. What I'm going to be talking about is the potential of information technology in promoting physical activity. I'm not going to take this extreme example you can see on the cartoon there, but we are all pretty familiar with how information technology can be used in sports. So I'm going to go quite quickly through these examples first. We need information technology in sports equipment if you're thinking at high-tech things like international sailing competitions, the America's Cup. You have whole research teams behind the development of the boats and the sails and everything else there, but also in the development of sports equipment that everybody uses, like running shoes. You have a lot of computer technology that really goes into that these days. In training, the technical aspects of training, we are very much used to information technology, video analysis, computer analysis. This helps us to improve our performance. In membership management, you have a very simple example there. This is just a mailing list of my local sports club. And when we need helpers for an event, that was the occasion, then we have a mailing list and it's just being sent out to all the members of the club and you can react. This is something you could do in the past as well, but it was just more difficult. You had to write letters, or you had to ring up everybody on the telephone. So this is one aspect of how you can use information technology in sports, in clubs, and I'm sure that all of you do that. Promoting events, that's another aspect. Last Sunday, the New York City Marathon has taken place, and if you want to know anything about it, you go to the website and you get a real plethora of information there. This is also the place where you would usually look for the results these days. Again, this is something we'd also do before we had information technology, but then you had to print the rankings, you had to send them out to everybody, whereas nowadays you just go to the website and you look up all the participants from Malaysia in the New York Marathon. You can do that quite easily. It takes you only a few moments and you can do it from anywhere in the world. Now, what I'm going to go into a little more detail about now is the promotion of the potential of information technology, in the promotion of physical activity in sports for all in 4 different fields that seem of particular importance to me. One is support to people like us working in the promotion of physical activity and sports. I think the most important people we have there are the coaches and the instructors in the clubs on the ground. And they used to have training manuals, things like that. Before there was information technology, they had their continuing education. And what you can do now very often is you can go to a website, you can download the material there, you get access to the next events for continuing education. So pretty much the same of what we had in the past, but it's more easily accessible now. This is an example from Switzerland where we provide for our instructors in different sport disciplines in our national youth and sports program. But then you have some more recent developments as well. In a few countries you have people that have been trained to become physical education counsellors. Scotland has been one of the first countries I knew about, and we have tried to do the same thing in Switzerland. And what we have developed is actually a website where people interested in that can go. They can learn about it. We now offer this as continuing education for people with degrees in physical education and physiotherapy. They get information, background information there. They can actually register. Then they go through an e-learning program. We have tested these e-learning programs with some physiotherapists that you have seen here. And once they've gone through the whole program and they have passed the test, they can come to a final workshop where we meet in person, where there's role play and where there are final exams before people get certified. Again, this has allowed us to do pretty much what we've been doing before, but in a more efficient and actually in a cheaper way. It costs us much less to do this than we did in the past. Then something I'm sure you all know are exchange platforms. Where can you go if you want to get some information quickly? And I will show you a few examples from my specific area of expertise, and that is physical activity and health. We heard this morning in Wendy Brown's presentation about WHO. WHO obviously has a website, a global one and regional ones. You get information there, you can download it directly. There are two international global NGOs on physical activity and health. One is Agita Mundo, and the other one is the Global Alliance on Physical Activity, GAPA. There you get information that is relevant to a global audience, but very much of what we do in physical activity and sport promotion has more of a regional character because it is so much linked to the social background. And the social background tends to be closer when we're looking at continents and neighbouring countries. So what we have, for example, there is an Asia-Pacific Physical Activity Network. Adrian Borman is running that, and if you want to know anything particular about this, you can go to this very website. There is another regional network. This is the Physical Activity Network of the Americas, and the one I'm most familiar with is the European one, HEPA Europe, the European Network for the Promotion of Health Enhancing Physical Activity. What you usually find in these platforms is things like documents. So this was a booklet that exists also in print, Physical Activity and Health in Europe, but you can go there and you can download it quite easily in PDF format and you can look at it wherever you are in the world. Then you get newsletters, and we have, for example, now inventories as well, examples of projects and documents from all over Europe, and you can go there, look at it, get a short description, and you usually have a contact person. We must be aware of the fact that all these elements can certainly support exchange, but they can never replace meetings and personal discussion. So the sort of thing we are having here is where we actually meet and we can talk to each other one-to-one, can never be replaced by the internet or information technology. I think we're all very much aware of that. Now, we've looked at the support for the providers and professionals. Now, something that exists as well is facilitated access to offers and facilities. As we live in more complex societies and as mobility has increased, we like to know about what's happening. In the past, you would ask somebody in the village, and usually there was one sports club and you knew you either went there or you didn't. Now, if you live in a city, if you have access to public transport, it's much easier to get anywhere else. And one of the ways of knowing about this are electronic databases. There are many of those. This is an example, again, from my country, where we have a system for certifying fitness centres, and it's with the financial backup of the health insurance companies. So the fitness centres that have passed this test, they actually get a partial recompensation for the membership fees of the people using their fitness centre. This is also the reason why this database actually works, because the fitness centres, they get money. What you can do is you go onto the website, you put in the name of the place where you're living, and then you get a list and the telephone numbers and the addresses of the local fitness centres that have been certified through this system. Now, the real challenge in this is not really the information technology, because you can have some of your programs that for you, maybe it doesn't quite work at the beginning, but after a few weeks it's certainly working. The real challenge is how do you keep the information in there accurate and up to date? And I have not yet encountered any system that works without any sort of financial incentive. Because usually you put it up once, people are quite enthusiastic about it, but who still cares about it after 3 months? If there's money involved, people can gain something from it, be it through actually providing services for money, or be it through subsidies, then it usually works. I know of one example in Scotland where they're trying to deal around this. What they're doing is they're actually in the process of constructing a database that focuses on the infrastructure. So they look up what gymnasiums are there, what parks are there, what fitness centres, but they don't really give you the information about who's running it and what are the opening hours. So that's up to you. But at least you know what the infrastructure is, and this is actually easier to maintain because it doesn't change as much as the actual office. Then we do have some examples of integrated information systems. One I'm familiar with is something about cycling in Switzerland, and it is actually not run by the health people or the physical activity or the sports people, it's run by the tourist people. And this is where the money comes from, because this costs an awful lot of money. And the tourist people, they do this, they put up this website, you get it in 4 different languages, and what you get is you get information about the infrastructure that exists, so we have cycling routes, but you also get information about public transport, you can book your accommodation there, and you get information about what exists in the neighbourhood, other attractions that are around there. It is quite spectacular, and it costs very much money, but they have actually calculated that this is also generating several million francs of income for the tourism. So this is a very powerful argument for